Now presenting the adventures of Flat Stanley Lamb Chop, vacationing in Whitby, Ontario, by Mitchell Collins and his Grandpa and Grandma Collins. A project for the Spruce Glen Public School, Grade 2 and 3 Social Studies. Now Flat Stanley Lamb Chop arrived in Whitby, Ontario on Monday, October the 5th, 2009. He emerged from his envelope and was happy to meet Mitchell's Grandma and Grandpa, and said he was really looking forward to his vacation. Stanley was hungry and thirsty after his long trip, so he really enjoyed having lunch with Mitchell's Grandma and Grandpa. He also mentioned that this was his first visit to Whitby. After lunch, Stanley went outside with Mitchell's Grandma to have a look around the gardens and check the flowers to see if they needed watering. Now they noticed that a vine had fallen down, and Stanley helped to fix it. He had to stretch his arm way up in order to reach it. His arm was starting to get pretty tired, and it's a good thing he's really strong and could hold it up there for quite a long time, as Mitchell's grandpa seemed to take forever to snap the photo. Stanley wanted to get a photo taken of himself with both of Mitchell's grandparents, so that when he got home he could show it to his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Lamb Chop, and to his brother Arthur. Mitchell's grandpa and Stanley then got in the truck to go for a drive around the area so that Stanley could do some sightseeing and learn as much as possible about Whitby during his rather short vacation. Now their first stop was at the Whitby Harbor, and Stanley was surprised to see that Whitby had such a wonderful harbor and that the Whitby Marina was so new and modern. He had a great time walking around the clubhouse and seeing so many people there. He saw a lot of different types and sizes of boats. Some were sailboats and some were power boats. He even got to see a beautiful 55-foot Sea Ray yacht named the Champagne Lady, which just happened to be docked there and visiting all the way from Cornwall, Ontario. They then went to see the Whitby Public Library, and Stanley was really impressed with how beautiful the building is. He was interested to learn that the library has roots way back to 1850. That's nearly 160 years ago. The library has been located in different buildings during that time, and the present building is only 4 years old. Now, to understand the size of the library, think of how big your soccer field is. The library is twice that size. Now, in addition to all the regular books and publications, the library also has e-books, e-magazines, e-encyclopedias, e-audiobooks, and it provides high-speed internet access to the public. Some of the other things that Stanley did and places he saw on his tour around Whitby with Mitchell's grandpa included visiting a few of the 125 recreational parks and some of the 24 kilometers of walking trails, seeing the General Motors Center Arena in nearby Oshawa, the home ice of the famous Oshawa Generals junior hockey team. Looking around the old downtown section of Whitby, where some of the buildings built around 100 years ago are still in good condition and are now occupied by various businesses and trendy little shops and stores. Traveling around on some of the streets resulted in going on overpasses which went right over the big multi-lane 401 highway which travels right through Whitby. Stanley noticed it was nearly impossible to tell where the actual borders of Whitby are, because being part of a greater urban area, the adjacent municipalities are right next to Whitby. Ontario Power Generation operates 2 nuclear electric power generation stations close to Whitby. The one to the east is at Darlington, and the other one to the west is at Pickering. Now, a visit to the stations is possible, but it has to be as an organized tour. For security reasons, Stanley could only see them from a distance and could not take any close-up photographs. The final stop was at the famous Williams Chocolate Factory. Stanley said he had never even seen a chocolate factory before, let alone actually visit one. The owner told Stanley that Williams Chocolate Factory is a family-owned business established in 1985. and that their high-quality chocolates are known near and far and have been sold to chocolate lovers all over the world. Some of their specialty products include sugar-free chocolate, chocolate-covered ginger, chocolate-covered orange peel, cherries in liqueur, and chocolate novelties such as hockey pucks, sticks, tools, and ballerinas, all made of chocolate. Now, of course, it was impossible for Stanley to learn everything about Whitby during such a short visit, but some of the more important things he did learn included: Whitby is a town, not a city, where about 115,000 people live. It is one of several municipalities in the municipality of Durham region and is located about 175 kilometers south of Huntsville. It takes about 2.5 hours to drive from Huntsville to Whitby. Whitby is also located about 55 kilometers east of downtown Toronto, and many people who live in Whitby travel into Toronto every day to go to work. Whitby is also located on the north shore of Lake Ontario and has a very good natural harbor, which is one of the reasons Whitby first became settled in the early 1800s. Now there is a modern marina where many people keep their boats, as well as providing accommodation for boaters traveling through the area on Lake Ontario. Running east and west through Whitby is Highway 401, which is 820 kilometers long and is the main east and west route through Ontario, carrying traffic all the way from the Quebec border to Windsor, Ontario, where traffic can then cross into the United States. General Motors of Canada, which builds cars and trucks, is located in Oshawa, Ontario, also part of Durham region. General Motors is one of the main employers in Durham region, and many people who live in Whitby work there. Whitby is located close to two large nuclear electric power generating stations. One is at Darlington and the other at Pickering. Together, these two stations generate almost 1/3 of all the electric power used in Ontario. Whitby is a very sports-minded community and has several parks and other facilities where young boys and girls play all sorts of organized sports, such as hockey and soccer. There is good shopping in and around Whitby, which mummies really like. Whitby has an excellent library, several schools, lots of theaters, and many interesting restaurants, and is also home to the famous Williams Chocolate Factory, which Stanley really enjoyed visiting. Although Stanley's tour of Whitby and his visit with Mitchell's grandpa and grandma was pretty well over, his vacation certainly was not. And that was because Mitchell's grandpa had a big surprise for Stanley. They were about to go on an adventure that few boys have the opportunity to do. Stanley's adventure was to go on a moose hunt at a remote camp in the wilderness of northern Ontario, and to get there they would fly in an airplane that takes off from and lands on the water. Now this adventure is the second chapter of Stanley's vacation with Mitchell's grandparents and can be enjoyed by watching his video, Stanley Goes Moose Hunting. Stanley, Mitchell's grandpa, Mitchell's dad, and the other hunters returned safely from the moose hunt, but they were all a little tired. Now it's time for Stanley to once again get into his mailing envelope and travel back to Huntsville. Mitchell's grandpa and grandma hoped that Stanley enjoyed his vacation in Whitby, Ontario, and that he learned lots about the area and about moose hunting to share with Mitchell and the other boys and girls in their grade 2 and 3 social studies.